Thank you. I hope I don't smell like a ferret. Ooh, that wouldn't be fun. Hi, Station 49. That's the voice I like to do for my generation because that's the vibe I feel we give off. I recently discovered that my age group of people were not actually part of a generation. We're not millennials. We're not Gen Z. We're an in-between group called the Cuspers, which is just a fancy way of saying neither generation wanted to take us because we're too annoying. And here's how I know my generation's annoying is that the other day, someone I know walked up to me and they said, Melly, traumas aren't just the bad things that happened, they're also the good things that never happened. And here's my thing with that is I don't know how I feel about counting never got my acceptance letter to the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as a trauma. Because to be fair, that's nobody's fault, right? Except for the Hogwarts mailing room, because I definitely was supposed to get that. Like, if you see an owl, let them know. I'm 22, but it's not too late. But I do have trouble making friends in my age group of people, because there's this thing they like to do is when everybody's at a party, they'll like to then sit down in a circle and share their traumas. And the thing is, it's hard for me to participate because, like, I don't have any. And I don't want to be up here, like, bragging like my life is awesome all the time. Which, like, to be fair, it's pretty awesome. Like, I'm having a pretty good time. But, you know, then it makes it hard to be a part of the trauma circle. And people are going around with, like, real stuff, and I feel bad. Like not just, I'm awkward, and I make jokes about it. Like, they're going around with, like, real things. Like, we didn't have enough food when I was a kid. Like, I don't know who my dad is. Like, I just found out my boyfriend's a murderer. Like, real things, right? And then they get to me, and they're like, Melly, you gotta share something. I'm just sitting there like, sometimes I get really worried for no reason. I think it's called anxiety, and it's happening right now. But sometimes people do try to help me out, right? And they'll say, you know, Melly, your parents were divorced. That has to be something. There's something there. And there would be something if my parents weren't still, like, really good friends. Like, most kids, when their parents get divorced, they get to rebel. They say, like, Dad, I'm going to Mom's. Mom, I'm going to Dad's. And then they sneak out and they cause trouble. But I couldn't do that because when I'd go to Dad's, my mom would give us a call and she'd say, oh my God, you know what? I'm going for a jog. And I figured on my jog, I'd just step by and we can all hang out. And then I'd be at my mom's house, right, trying to sneak out. My dad would give us a call and he'd say, hey, you know what? I'm on my way to work and I figured, you know, I'd just stop by and we can all hang out. And it's very, you know, but I joke. If we want to talk about, like, real traumas, is like with those parents, I had no chance of ever being cool because they're both medical and they're huge freaking nerds. The other day, my mom, who's here, she walked up to me and she said, Melly, I am about ready to school somebody about the endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi body. And then my dad, who really, he looks like a Jewish mobster. He has like a Star of David on a chain and a silver tracksuit that he wore to pick me up from school every day my whole life. And that man called me and said, you know what? I am about ready to fight somebody about this article in Nurses Weekly because it is medically inaccurate. It's zero chance of being cool. I know I'm making jokes, but I do love my family so much and I appreciate them every day. And what I appreciate the most is that when I read fairy tales, I never think of my family. Yeah, because I feel like fairy tales are not really for the kids. They're for the parents, and they're stories of how not to parent. Because let's talk about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Where are her parents? She's 10 years old, and she just breaks into a bear's house. She has no manners, right? She eats their food, she sleeps in their bed, she messes up all the stuff they cleaned up. The true good parents in that story are the bears. Because they get home and Baby Bear sees this human girl who broke into their house, ate all his food, slept in his bed, messed up all his stuff, and he doesn't even eat her a little bit. Like if I were a bear, even a bear in society, and some little girl with no manners and no supervision broke into my house and ate my dinner, I'm gonna eat a little bit of her. Just like a toe or something, so she doesn't do it again. All right, so Goldilocks has no supervision. Then we have Little Red Riding Hood, right? She has 2 parents. You're telling me not one of them could have walked with her through the woods. Also, side note about Grandma. If she can't walk into town to get her own bread, why is she living a day's journey alone in the middle of the forest? Maybe have Grandma live with you. Maybe put her in a nursing home. I don't know, but somebody needs to help Grandma. Right? And then, they decide to send their only child in a blood-red cape through the wolf-infested forest. Who thought that was a good idea? And they're telling her all these rules, like, don't talk to the wolves, get back before dark. And she says, okay, guys, it's a day's journey there. I have to come back in the dark. That's how time works. And, then she goes by herself. And, of course, she breaks all the rules, because if you tell a little kid not to do something, they're going to do that exact thing. And then she gets to Grandma's house, and she says, wow, Grandma, you're really hairy today. You got, big fangs and claws. I don't remember you looking like that last time. If you're going to send your kid alone into the wolf-infested forest, maybe teach her what a wolf looks like. That's a failure of her parents and the education system. Right? And then the most classic example of bad parenting, Hansel and Gretel. Right? The story of why you shouldn't get remarried. And in that story, their dad meets this woman, and the kids are like, we don't like her. She doesn't like kids. She's made it very clear. And the dad says, yeah, but she's really hot. So he marries her. And then one day she says, hey, I would like to take your kids alone into the woods with me. I think it'd be a good bonding experience. And the kids are like, Dad, we don't want to go. Because every time their dad turns away, stepmom's looking at him like, I will kill you. I am coming for you. And he lets her take them. So they go into the woods, right? And she says, oh, just sprinkle some breadcrumbs, to find your way back, because birds won't eat that. Then they get lost. They get kidnapped by a witch. And let's remember this story, right? The dad doesn't save them. They escape from the witch by themselves. And then they get back, and their dad's like, oh my God, where were you guys? And they say, okay, you have to divorce her now, right? Please, please. And their dad says, yeah, but she's really hot. And Hansel and Gretel were telling me about this in Trauma Circle the other day. And they said, hey, Melly, your mom, your dad got remarried, right? That's something. There has to be something there. And there would be something there. She wasn't a really nice person. She hasn't even tried to feed me to a witch once. Thank you.